Hello my friends and welcome back to these crazy hot days here in Flutter Explained Studio. Today we want to talk about local databases and we will do that with an example of Isar DB. We will talk first about why we need local databases, how they work and why are there benefits in front of a real database that we have somewhere in a server. And afterwards we want to implement the whole thing in Isar DB and we will talk about the pros and cons in Isar DB and we will have an understanding how Isar DB works. I was personally really impressed how good it is, and so I hope I can convince you today to use it in your projects. But before we begin now, let's head quickly over to some adverts. Thanks. Hey, the sponsor of today's video is Flutter Explained ourselves. You remember maybe this YouTube channel who creates Flutter and Dart content? Well, we could need your support. For that, we created a Patreon page where you can register into different tiers and your name will be visible at the end of the video. Additional benefits are, for example, the PowerPoint presentations that we have for talks or the installation guide. Also, you will get an exclusive first view on the videos because all the videos will be shared 1 week earlier with you, so you have the possibility to see it before everyone else. Alright, and if this sounds interesting to you, it would help us amazingly if you could join this membership program. And else, back to the video. Alright, but back to the reason of this video. So why do we need local databases? The first thing that comes into mind if you think about local databases is of course to store data directly on the device or on the computer where you are currently working on. So if you have something like, for example, Postman is a good example because all the queries that you can create are stored directly on the computer where you are if you don't provide something like Sync where you want to share this information with your team members. So that gives you an opportunity to store information on your device. And that's a pretty cool thing because a lot of applications that don't need even internet access. That can reduce permissions for, like, you don't need internet permissions in the best case, or you can create caching. So that means you can store data that you would get out of the internet on your device and wait till something has changed before you update the data in your local database. So you don't have all this network trafficking all the time when you start up the app and maybe you don't have internet connection because, well, phones still have a very bad internet reliability in the world. So it could be that you go in a tunnel, your data are lost, and maybe your app is not working anymore. So you can prevent these accidents from happening. Additionally, local databases are usually very, very fast because they are running on the device. There is no connection problems. There is no connection at all. That means no latency. And all of that gives you the possibility to work very fast with your data. Cool. An additional benefit of local databases is, of course, because you don't need an API request and everything, you can scrim down a lot of code that you need to create an API, to send endpoints, to get the information that you need, and you don't rely on other partners, which allows you to make sure that your application is still running in any case. So you don't have this whole boilerplate around it that you have to create for APIs in the worst case. Alright, but now let's get a little bit more specific. Let's talk about Isar DB. Isar DB is the application that we want to use today and implement the solution for it. But what makes Isar DB now so special compared to all the other databases that we talked already on this channel, like Hive, ObjectBox, SQLite? Well, besides of the benefits that all the great libraries share, like great support, community, open source, static typing, great full text search, scalability. There are also two major changes that I really enjoyed during my development lifecycle. The first one is it adds ACID semantics, which allows you to create transactions and it handles them also automatically. And inside of these transactions, if there occurs an error, you have the benefit that the rollback happens directly. A second cool thing that I really enjoyed is the allowance of creating indexes. So if you are very good in databases and creating your own queries and optimize them, indexes and especially compound indexes allows you to get the last bit of performance that you would need from a database to improve your speed and scalability even further, which I really find for bigger projects really amazing. Cool. Besides of that, Isar has also two things that I want to point out. First, it works with the build runner, so it has a generator behind. So it creates the models and instant classes directly out of your source code that you create. And the second part is the Isar inspector. It's a very cool tool where you can directly see in your browser or as a standalone application the insides of the database. So all the things that you have already saved can be visible, seen inside of this Isar inspector, which I really enjoyed. I really liked it, and I will show it to you in a second. All right, but before we begin, let's have a quick introduction on what we want to achieve today. I created a small application to create courses, teachers, and students and connect them via the course. So as you can see here in the demo application, we can add a course, like for example, the Isar DB course today. And the teacher today will be Deepak, and he will introduce us to the Isar DB course. And we can add a student, like for example, Minu. And if we do that, we can do all of that, add the new student. And if we click on the course now, we can see all the relevant information about the course and see the teacher and the student. Great. So with that, we have understand what we want to achieve, and we will do that with Isar DB. We will implement everything in detail. We will have a look into the inspector, which is one of the great features of Isar DB. And also we will understand on how we can implement all the different transactions ourselves so that we can directly use that. All right. And now without further ado, let's jump into the video. So if you switch to the tutorial branch, you will directly notice that everything gets red on the left side. So all the entities and all the classes. Don't worry about that. That is because the Isar dependencies are missing and also because the models are not generated yet. So that means we have to first something to implement before everything works green. All right, so close that and let's check out the pubspec.yaml. I wrote here the first two to-dos that we have to do. We have to add the dependencies Isar, Isar Flutter libs, Isar generator, and build runner. Build runner is for the generation of files necessary. The Isar generator knows how to understand the Isar objects and create models out of it. And the Isar Flutter libs help you to directly implement everything in a Flutter application. All right, so let's bring them over. First of all, the first dependencies up here. And here you can see that we are working today with a dev 8 version. So that means we are ahead and we work already in version 3. Reason for that is there was a bug in version 2. And because I want to work with Isar and show you the latest stuff, we work with version 3 dev 8. It could be already for you that version 3 is released. So if this is the case, just use version 3 for that tutorial. I think it will work the same way. All right, and as a dev dependency, so the dependencies that are not getting released into, we want to have the Isar generator and the build runner. Hey, is this working? Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. Back to the video. All right, so next step is of course pubget to get the dependencies downloaded and into the project. And then let's jump into the course.dart file inside of entities file. So here we want to create a course collection, add the backlinks to the course and add a backlink to the students. We will put that to later because we want to first create the teacher and students. So we first start with the collection of course. So how do we do that? Thanks to Isar, we have the possibility for collection up there. And I have already dependencies here, but you can see we get that from Isar Dart. Also, you can see that we have here already the part file. If you don't know about part files, this comes with the build runner. If we execute later the build runner, so Flutter build runner run, then it will create us a generated file. So that stands the G here for. And in this generated file, there is a lot of stuff that Isar DB needs to work correctly. And we will have the file then locally stored. Great stuff. So with this part, we just say where the file has to be stored. Don't forget that this needs to be there. All right. Besides of that, we want to have inside of our course an Isar auto increment ID. So that just means that we want to have that the ID is generated automatically. And this is in small letters. Great stuff. Then we have a title for the course. And now we need the two backlinks. So what I will do now is I will just take these to-dos and put them down here. And we have that done yet. So with that, we can keep these, remove these, and just execute once the build runner. So for that, I prepared already the script, and we can see here we call Flutter pub run build runner build delete conflicted outputs. The delete part is not necessary, but when you have already generated the files, this will delete the conflicted files and will regenerate them. So if we execute that now, it shouldn't take long. And if we take in the same view inside of our project structure, we should see in a second here the course.g.dart file. Great. Now inside of this course.g.dart file, this is generated, and please don't modify it by hand. There is a lot of smarts of Isar itself. So all of these information are just methods that you can call to receive some information, and it creates you some custom query builders that you directly can use, and also some other smarts. So feel free to read it, but we will not modify that file, or we will not read into it too deeply. We just will use it in this tutorial. All right, but now let's head over to the student and also make this one a collection. So first we need to add the annotation collection. Then we want to have an ID, which is an Isar auto increment ID. And the student has a name, so it has a late string name. And last but not least, it is possible that one student has more than one course. So with that, we want to create links to that course element. So for that, we will create final courses, Isar links, and inside of here, we want to add the courses. So this Isar links tells us this is a one-to-many relationship. All right, and we will do this nearly the same thing for the teacher, but the teacher will have a one-to-one relationship. So for that, let's switch quickly over to the teacher. And inside of here, we do the same thing. So first we want to annotate it with collection, and here we don't have to import. So then ID equals auto increment from Isar. So Isar auto increment ID, perfect. Then late string name. Know the drill, and we have a course, which is now a one-to-one relationship via a course. So there we need to import to, there we executed, and there we did not execute it. We should not forget about that. Okay, great. So with that, this is a collection, this is a collection. We could implement the backlink, but first of all, I would like to run the Flutter build runner once more, just to see the results that we get. As you can see, it's getting green. With that, we have generated files. And as we can see, the generated files directly appear underneath of it, and all the things are already inside of it. Great. So now let's create quickly inside of the course file also the backlinks. That means we don't only want to have a reference from the student to the course. No, we want to have also the opportunity to get from a course to the student back. So how can we do that? We say backlink with an annotation, and we say where we go to. So that's the course is the main information source here. So final teacher, and we say there is an Isar link to teacher. Great stuff. So of course we also have to get all the imports running. Know the drill. And there we shouldn't have an E. Great stuff. And we do the same backlink information to course. And this time we want to go to the students, plural, yeah, Isar links, and this is students, student, sorry. Great. Also that we have to import, and now we can run our script again. And after a couple of seconds, if nothing went wrong, there is a problem. Target of backlink does not exist. To course. Sorry, that's now multiples. Because if we check the student, inside of here we have the variable courses. So that's the important part to keep in your head, that you reference to the variable inside of the entity. Great. So now with that, we have created all the generated files and entities. And after that, most of your application should be already pretty green. That's because most of it already works. So the rest of most of the to-dos will be visible inside of the Isar service.dart, because I extracted everything that has something to do with Isar DB into this Isar services. And as you can see, we have a lot of unimplemented errors. So if you want to see where these methods getting executed one by one, feel free to jump into the different places and can see where exactly the calls happen. All right, so here we have, we start in Isar services completely at the bottom at OpenDB. So whenever we restart the app or we start the app, we run into this OpenDB information and we'll set up the Isar DB once again for our application. That leads to a small problem with hot reload. So we have to first check if Isar has already an instance running. So let's do that. First, we check if Isar dot instance names is empty. Oops, is empty. So with that, we know at this point there is an empty Isar DB, nothing already there, so we can create a new one. So we return await Isar.open. So we open up the database, and inside of here we have now to pass in the different schemas that we created before. Wait, we did not create schemas? Obviously we did. That happened via the generation. Inside of the generated files, you will be able to see the different schemas, and we will jump into them in a second. So that's a list, and we will have a course schema. We will have a student schema. And last but not least, we have a teacher schema. And if we jump into one of them, you can see we jump directly into the courses GDart or teacher GDart and so on and so forth. And inside of here, we have all the informations like get ID, things that it's already done. So this is the schema. All right. And the second parameter that we want to add is the inspector true. You ask now, what is the inspector? And that's exactly cool things on Isar DB, because it allows us to have something that is very close to, let's say, the developer tools of Flutter, because it gives us real insights into the database, what we have already in store and what we not have in store. But give me a second, I will show you after that implementation here. So, and if everything worked well, we want to return a value future Isar.getInstance. Get-instance. Good. What did we do here? So whenever this class, the Isar service, gets generated, we can see we have the constructor which calls open database, which is just a future of Isar. Why do we do that? Because in every function, save server, course, save student, save teacher, and so on, the first thing we will do is we wait for this DB, because we want to make sure that this database is existent. That is not really we wait for it, it's just to make sure that it has been resolved. Okay, great. So let's get into the next step. So first, save courses. So final Isar, and here we say await for DB. So that, as I said, is just to make sure that we have a database ready and running. Then we say write txn, and we want to make that in sync. So write txn in sync. And as you can see, this here is in synchronous because it's helping us with savings. If we jump in, we get some more information, but yeah, what we can do is we pass in what we want to get returned from it. And in our case, it's an integer because we want to get the ID of the saved course into it. So we say Isar courses, which is our schema for it. And there we want to put something in sync. And the object that we want to have inside is a new course. So you ask yourself now, where comes this new course from? And if we jump into where save courses have been called, we can see here there is a method that calls this course, creates a new course model or entity, and sets the title to the text controller. So just that what is there already. And that's happening with all the methods. And with that, we created this and we are done. And the last thing we don't have to do anything further. If we now save a course in our database, it will be stored. And why I'm so sure? Because we can test that, and I can show you if we quickly restart our application, then we can see we have the application here. And because Isar Connect started, so Isar is connected, we get this nice little link. And if I press that, I can show you in very small right now, but here you have the inspector of Isar. And if we jump now in one of these, we can directly see, hey, there are already entries. That are the entries that we have from before. And here we can remove entries, we can edit our entries directly, we can download these entries. And what we also have is this query builder, which helps us a lot to create queries and optimize our queries if we want to. That makes it very useful to create new queries, to improve our database, to see what really happens underneath the hood if you have debugging problems. And if we, for example, create a new course like test and add that course, we can see there is now 2 courses in our application. As you can see, there is nothing visible yet. Don't worry about that. It's just because we don't have the Isar service completely implemented. So let's get next to it and save also students and teachers before we start to watch and read the data. All right, so I will just copy that over because it's exactly the same behavior like before. So the only difference is that we have not new courses and we don't access courses, but students, and we save the new students part. And the same thing happens for the teachers, of course. So we remove that and we do new teacher, and we access teachers. Great stuff. So we have finished all the save methods already. Very good. Next step is to get all the courses. That is just to read all courses in general, but what's more interesting is actually the listen to courses at the moment. Because what we want is whenever we add a new course, we directly want to make it visible in our list of different courses, right? So let's check that. First of all, we do what we can do best. We wait for Isar. So it's wait DB. And if we done that, now we want to yield star. That means we want to return a stream in that. As you can see, we have a stream returned and we have async star here. So that means we want to return everything that happens right now. So we say courses, where. So this is now a query that we create and we want to watch it. As you can see, as a result from watch, we receive a stream with a list of R. And R in our case is, and you guessed it, it's the courses. So we want to watch that. And is there anything initial return true? Why do we want to have the initial return? Well, because if we would start up the app and we would not implement this part here, we would not see the first data set that we receive. So if I now quickly restart the application and have a look, we can see our data. We see our Isar DB course from the beginning. You saw the demo and the test part. Great stuff. With that, we have that visible. If you are interested, you can also get all courses and implement this one, but I think we don't really need that, or we need it for the future builders, of course. All right, so let's implement that one. So final Isar, await DB. You see a pattern here, right? So then we want to return await for Isar, because this one should be synchronous for us or asynchronous. Where, and when it's where, we say find all, and that's all. So with this very easy information, we return now all the courses to whatever or whoever needs that. Great. The next one is clean DB, and I did not show that in the demo, but up here we have this trash bin, and if I click it, it would remove all the data from the database. To show that, it's quite easy to implement. It's actually just a final Isar, await DB, I think you know it. Then we wait and we have to write the transaction. So, and inside of here, we just want to say isar.clear. And that will remove everything from the database. Not necessarily good for all the times, but for me, it was pretty helpful. All right. What do we have next? Get students for. And this method is quite interesting. So we want to get all the students for a specific course. So let's see how we can implement that. First, we say final Isar await DB because we need the database. If the database is there, we can say return await Isar students, and we have there already something, but where find all is unfortunately not correct true. We want to filter. Well, filter. And if we filter, we want to filter about our courses. And if we do that, what happens in these courses, you can see there is a filter query inside. That means we have a method inside of here where we receive the query and we have to return now what we want to search for. So we get the query, and for each query we say the ID of this needs to be equal to, and that will be the course ID. And if we have that, we want to get all the information from there. So if we make that clean, we can have it in a bit more beautiful way. And what we can see here now is we say again that we want to check our students, and all the students have all the courses on them. And we want to check the query of these courses if the ID is equal to the course ID. So the course is the one that we receive. And with this, we say we want to get all the students for this specific course. And the same thing happens for the teachers now. So we do exactly the same thing, but for the teachers. So let's quickly do that. I have something prepared. Click. Great stuff. So we receive all the teachers. And with that, we have everything implemented for this tutorial. All right. So let's quickly have a look. We have all these information. Let's quickly look also in the inspector once again. And as you can see, if I add now one specific student somewhere, like for example, Max is joining the Isar DB and the test, then we have this new student. If we take a look, yes, Max is visible and accessible here. I can also jump into it. We see there is no teacher yet for the course, but we have already a student in it. And here we see both of the students. All right, so back to the other Max to explain you the rest. Thanks for watching so far. So with that, we have implemented Isar DB. Everything works now. We have seen that we are working with the Dev 8 version at the moment. So probably when it's your turn, you probably have it already in release, or it's even a newer Dev version. You saw all the benefits that you can create. I hope I was able to make you aware of all the benefits of Isar DB and you really liked it. You know now about local databases, and all of that is great stuff. I hope and think that it's very versatile, and I will use it more often in my next projects, and hope I hear your opinion about it. Please let me know down in the comments below what you think about it and what we should see next. All right, and without anything further, thanks so much for watching. Until the next time, bye.